In 2015, when Trump began to run for president, and I watched him give his famous announcement speech at Trump Tower, at that minute, I became a never Trumper, and I've never looked back. And I had three main reasons at that time why I thought he was terrible. I didn't really articulate it or put it into words at the time, but over these last few years, I've had more time to think about it, obviously. And the three reasons boil down to, and almost everything is contained within these three things. Uh, but they boil down to incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. And today I'm going to talk about someone who embodies all three, perhaps better than anyone else, and that person is DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, who obviously embodies cruelty in ways that decent people can't even begin to imagine. Turns out she also embodies incompetence and corruption as well. It's a trifecta. Check out this article from the Wall Street Journal just out. It's not actually about corruption and incompetence, but there's a paragraph that talks about it, and it's massive. It's very massive. The whole article could have been about that. But anyway, it's infighting at DHS is complicating Trump's deportation push from the Wall Street Journal. And the good news is they are having a lot of infighting, and that is robbing them of their full effectiveness in deporting people, or I should say, in wrongly deporting people, which seems to be what they're doing more often than not. But the part of the article I wanted to mention is down here. Here's Kristi Noem here. Here's her boyfriend, Corey Lewandowski, who plays a part in this story, and all these other people. This is in Mexico City, earlier this year at the Mexican National Palace. All right, so here's the part I wanted to get to. So they're talking about all the infighting going on in DHS, and it's going to kind of start in the middle of the story, but you'll follow it. More broadly, officials across ICE say Noem and Lewandowski have directed them to use a $170 billion infusion of cash from Congress to launch splashy ideas that have proven ineffective or impractical. That's the good news. They're wasting. Look, I don't want government to waste our money, but if wasting money prevents them from doing really evil things, then I'm all for the waste. So, strangely enough, in this case, I think the waste is good and the infighting is good, and anything that robs them of their effectiveness in doing these evil things that they're trying to do, I'm all for it. Listen, if they were literally taking real criminals off the streets, I would be happy about that. But it's just been proven over and over and over again that the vast majority of the people they're picking up aren't criminals at all. Okay? That's why I'm against what they're doing. If not for that, I would be all for it. But check this out. Among the examples some ICE officials have cited, a few weeks ago, the pair, meaning Noem and her boyfriend, uh, Corey, Uh, they ordered ICE officials to buy 10 737 jets from Spirit Airlines that they said would be used to boost deportation flights. Oh, and here, one little side remark, and for their own travel. So, for their own personal travel, okay? It says it right in the article. Of course, they don't make a big deal out of it, but that's a huge deal. Some officials warned the pair, get this, that the effort would be prohibitively expensive compared with hiring more flight contractors. Or I guess that's like chartered flights. You hire contractors with planes and pilots who come in and do the flights for you, which I call chartered flights. But check this out. Once the officials looked into the proposal, they learned that Spirit Air, which filed for bankruptcy for a second time in August, didn't own the planes. The planes also don't have engines, which would need to be purchased separately. So I guarantee you, I have a feeling I know what happened. Because they're surrounded by all these billionaires and rich people. I almost guarantee you. Okay, I don't know. I'm guessing. All right. But my guess is some rich person came to Christie or came to somebody in the administration and said, hey, Spirit Airlines filed bankruptcy. They're going to be selling their planes cheap. You should try to get some. And they said, yeah, let's do that. So instead of going through the proper procedures to make a giant purchase like this, she just sent an order down to them to say, buy the planes. Buy the planes. So the incompetence here, though, is staggering. And it raises serious red flags around this woman's ability to lead such a large organization. She's thrown procurement discipline to the wind. She did no due diligence, and she obviously has no knowledge of something called cost benefits analysis or competitive bidding. Remember that? When did these deals just become sweetheart deals between billionaires? One billionaire tells her, "Hey, we got some planes over here. The other billionaire, my friend, my buddy owns them." So, oh, yeah, we can buy those. No, you do competitive bidding if you want to save taxpayer money. All right. I mean, look, any standard large scale asset purchase in the public sector would require, at a bare minimum, confirming that the seller owns the thing you're buying, confirming the condition of the item, which includes, in this case, making sure the planes have engines. I mean, no one even went to see the planes in person. She literally sent an order, buy the planes, and no one even went to see them. To me, all that points to just rank incompetence. But I think there might be another component at play here too, and let's call that component corruption. So let's think about it. Let's think this through. Let's think through how this must have happened. She and her boyfriend Corey Lewandowski decided it would be nice to buy some planes, and in fact, if they get a whole bunch of them, they might have one or two left over for their own personal use from time to time. So they order ICE officials to buy the 10 planes. I don't know how they knew about these planes or what happened, but somehow they came into the knowledge that Spirit Airlines had 10 planes for sale. Now, note how this happened. She didn't contact her procurement office and ask them to start the process of investigating the purchase. No, that's not what they did. What they did was they ordered ICE officials to buy the planes. They ordered them directly without going through any normal purchase procedure. They didn't even look into it. They didn't say, "Come talk to us about it." They didn't say, "Let me ask you some questions about it. Do some investigation in it." They didn't say anything. They didn't say, "Let's come up with the best plan for the country." They didn't say, can we save the country money? How can we save taxpayer?" Nothing. They didn't do any of these things. No, they just ordered them to buy the planes. But when these ICE officials started to look into the purchase, apparently there are a few good people still left there, they found out some things that were a little disturbing. So they went back to her and informed her that there were a few problems. They advised her that chartering planes would be more cost effective, but she waved them away, apparently unconcerned with the fact that there may be a better way that would save those precious taxpayer dollars they're always promising to save. And that's when I imagine her rushing them out of the office and then getting together with boyfriend Corey and exclaiming, "That's no good. We can't lease the planes. We don't want to charter them. That's no good. We don't want chartered planes." Then we'd have to just fully justify every flight as being for some work related purpose. That'll make it far harder to get away with these personal trips we want to take together on these planes, on these private jets. And that's where the corruption comes in. So now you're adding corruption to incompetence. And I mean, honestly, maybe the whole thing was corruption. Maybe the incompetence was like, a, a, uh, a disguise for what they were really up to. But, they're promising you, all of you MAGA people who voted for these people, they're promising you to stop waste, but through sheer incompetence, or maybe in this case through sheer corruption, either one, doesn't matter. Um, they're creating more waste than you could ever imagine. That's why you don't want to elect incompetent, corrupt people, even if they get angry at the same things you get angry at, and even if they hate the same people you hate. And by the way, if you're a Christian supporter of the president, you shouldn't be voting for people because they hate anybody in the first place. And this administration wears their hate on their sleeves. There's literally nothing more unchristian than that. What's more unchristian than hate? I mean, Jesus said the greatest commandment is this, or the second greatest commandment is this: love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? So that's the second most important thing Christians need to do. So there's nothing more unchristian than hate. And you know what? Stop justifying it. Stop trying to come up with reasons to say it's not hate. I've really learned some big lessons this year about hate. Something that I thought was obvious to everyone, but it's people can justify things in their mind in such ways that it's like they don't even know they're hating. I had one Christian pastor tell me a few months ago that during the campaign last year, when they had that rally at Madison Square Garden, and they had a comedian on stage who called Puerto Rico an island of trash. Remember that? I had a Christian pastor justify that to me by saying, well, the Puerto Ricans, they probably don't mind being called that. Then he referenced his own ethnicity and said that they, his people, were called names when he was a child. He said we were called names all the times, but we were cool with it. We didn't mind. But the issue isn't whether or not the people being called the name will be cool with it. The issue is whether the people calling the names are expressing hate. See the difference? I mean, really, it's amazing how these people just twist things just a little bit. Sounds almost the same, but it's not. Oh, it's okay. That's not hate to call them trash because I'm sure they don't mind. Because when I was a kid, we didn't mind. That doesn't justify having hate or expressing hate, especially for Christians. And when you call a whole group of people trash, seriously, what's more blatantly hateful than that? Really, what? There's nothing more blatantly hateful than that, calling people trash. And that's what they did. And MAGA cheered it. And a pastor justified it to me in person. Anyway, it's time to open your eyes, Christians, to what a disaster this whole administration is. All you people who have supported this and continue to this day, you got to open your eyes and use some discernment. Stop taking them at their word and watch and pay attention to what they do and how they act and not just what they say. When they tell you they're going to save billions in government money, don't believe them. Ask some questions. Why would you take them at their word? Ask if there's anything in their backgrounds to suggest that they would have the integrity to save money. And if you believe they would, then ask yourself whether they have shown that they have the competence, the ability to know how to save the money, because that's important too. Do they have experience running huge organizations like these government agencies are? And do they have a successful track record in doing that? You have to ask these questions and weigh all these factors. Look, they appointed Pete Hegseth to be the Secretary of Defense. Okay. Um, he had some experience running some small organizations and he blew it. He was a total failure at it. And yet the Republican senators rushed through and said, yeah, yeah, we'll confirm him. It's all good. No, it's not all good. Look, I know having to do all these steps before deciding who to vote for, I know it makes voting a little more complicated, but voting is complicated. And if you don't get it right, you're going to take the whole nation down the drain, which is pretty much where we're headed right now. So wake up and stop lying to yourself and telling yourself these things aren't really happening. Put your faith first and never compromise it. Don't compromise your faith. Don't compromise what you've been taught as a Christian. Love your neighbor as yourself. Second most important commandment in God's word. Okay? Open your eyes, look around. Don't try to make up excuses to cover up what is blatantly wrong and open for everyone to see. Start being honest with yourself. Say, you know what? I supported these people. I thought they were going to do the right thing, but I'm starting to see that they're really not. I'm starting to see they are corrupt. Look, this was from the Wall Street Journal. This was not an anti-Trump publication. Okay. Oh, well, Rupert Murdoch's, being sued and all that. Okay. Or he's suing Trump. Whatever. This is objective, fact-based reporting. These large news organizations, they can't put out stuff that's blatant lies. They just can't. They may come to a conclusion that you wouldn't come to, but on the facts of the story, they check and double check and triple check. They talk to all kinds of people to confirm and corroborate that what they're reporting is true. They have to because they could be sued. And they have to be able to walk into court and say, no, we have the facts. Here's the evidence. Here's the proof that what we said was based on true things that eyewitnesses told us. Okay. Anyway, that's about all I had to say. And I hope some of you will take it to heart and really think about these things. They're super important. Our country's more important than our party. Uh, our faith is more important than everything. Okay. Don't compromise your faith. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.